Hi everyone, Friday, time for a Hummingbird update, and we've had a request to help you understand how to bleed brakes. So the timing is perfect. I'm ready to actually bleed the brakes on the Hummingbird. So we're going to do that first, and then we'll follow on with a Hummingbird update. So probably two separate videos today, all right? So let's talk about tools of the trade and what we want to do. Basically, we're going to start at the calipers, and you do this on an aircraft or a helicopter, and we're going to pump brake fluid all the way up the brake lines to either the master cylinders or the brake reservoir, depending on how your aircraft is set up. And if we come over here, I'll show you what I mean on the brakes, okay? Some aircraft like RB-8s will have a master cylinder right here attached to the pedal.
Wait a minute, I don't have it.
You don't have it? Can you get that? It's right here. I did take a still picture, okay? In that, usually there's a little fitting. In this case, it takes a 9/64 Allen wrench that you pull out. Those have little bleeder holes in there because we do need this system to vent as the fluid goes up and down in there. And we got a good still picture of that for you. We'll attach, all right?
So the master looks different on this than it does on an RV.
Yeah,
it's
so
that cylinder.
Is that a Carol's query?
No, it's just a question.
So what's going on here is this is a brake master cylinder that also has the reservoir attached to it. So as opposed to on a lot of the RVs and other aircraft, you'll have brake master cylinders here, but they don't have the reservoir. Two lines will end up going out of these up to typically a firewall location, and then there's a brake reservoir. In this case, to do away with all that complexity, each brake line will have its own reservoir attached to the brake pedals. So we're going to make sure these get filled properly. What I do to see that they're filled is just use yourself a cable tie. And then as we fill that reservoir, you can just push this cable tie in through that hole. Hold your finger on when you pull it out. It'll show you where the fluid level is. So that works kind of nice. Now, a couple things you want to make certain before you get started. We want to make certain that the brake pedals aren't depressed. So make sure they are, in fact, free and come all the way up to the top. Now, what's important to make certain that does happen, and we've had some people ask, because you see some of the pictures in my presentations have lots of washers on here. It's really important to get these cylinders in a straight line so there's no side-to-side pressure on this rod. That is actually nothing but a pump inside that cylinder. If you have any side-to-side pressure, the brakes won't be nice and free, and you'll get wear over time on this rod, and eventually they'll stick and leak. So that's one thing you want to make certain the pedals are all the way back. And then if you have a parking brake, as we do here, we want to make certain the parking brake is off. If we have the parking brake on, fluid is not going to come up past the parking brake. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Basically what I'm going to do, and let me show you the fluid here. There's a couple different kinds of fluid on the market that you can use. I have a lot of this Aeroshell 4. The old standby is the 5606, which Aeroshell 4 is compatible with, as is the Royco 782, which is fireproof kind of synthetic fluid. So for those of you who are, you got wheel pants on your brakes, they get hot, especially if you've got dragging brakes, etc., or those of you with complex aircraft with retractable gear hydraulic systems, I highly recommend using the flame fire retardant fluid. In this case, we've just got small lines. Everything's external except where they come into the brakes. So I've got Aeroshell already set up. That's what I'm going to use. Now to pump them, basically just go to the hardware store and get yourself a really cheap oil can pump here, as you can see. And all you got to do is put a little piece of rubber hose on it. And there's a fitting, and there's a picture, still picture in the video we'll show you here. On the bottom of the caliper, these are Matco brakes. They use a 5/16 wrench to open up this bleeder. Most of the Clevelands will use a 1/4 inch wrench. Okay? So all we have to do here now is take this off, and you want to make certain we don't have air, any bubbles in the lines, because we don't want the brakes to be spongy. And so we're going to connect this down here, make sure the line is open. Basically, it's open counterclockwise, just the way you would loosen any kind of nut, and we're going to begin pumping. Okay? And then we'll go up and look at the other end and watch for the fluid to come into the line. Okay, I'm going to pump, and you're going to tell me when you got it. Okay, so I'm pumping and we should start to see it come up at the other line and go into the master cylinder. Is it going?
Yes.
Is it in there?
Yes.
It's already in? All right, so let me just pump it a few times here. And then I'll come up there, use our little cable tie, and see how full we are. Of course, I don't remember where I set it down. Let me grab one. All right, cable tie into the reservoir. I'll hold my finger, pull it up, and we can see right there, we're about maybe an inch up. So I'm gonna pump it some more. We'll get it about halfway full, and then we'll lock it down back here. Basically, we want to have enough in the reservoir so that there's room for expansion on hot days, and as the brakes wear down, we move. The fluid, there's enough fluid in there to allow the brakes to work. And so we're going to tighten this down here. All right, we're tight here. I'm going to come back up to the top, and the brake pedal should be hard. Yes, see how hard that is now? It's very nice, as opposed to this one. It goes all the way down. So that's all there is to bleeding the brakes. We're all done on the right side. We'll repeat for the left side. All right, we're all done. We've got nice hard brakes on both sides. And so the last step, don't forget to put your vent cap back in there, okay? Anyway, hopefully that helped. You understand, actually bleeding the brakes are much easier on our aircraft than they are on cars because we don't have the pressure side or the assist, power assist, etc. It's a straight hydraulic line. So again, be careful not to get any air in the lines. You'll be able to see that with your pump if you use a clear piece of tubing there. That's why I use a clear piece of tubing. Some brake lines on an aircraft are quite long and they go through bigger, larger diameter hoses. So you want to be careful that you don't run your pump out. And what I'll do is just leave it connected, disconnect it a little bit, and fill it back up sometimes halfway through the process. In this case, we've got small 1/8-inch lines all the way up to the brake line, so it doesn't take much fluid there to fill those lines. The reality is on a helicopter, we're not going to use the brakes very much. On a case of a wheel-equipped helicopter, we do need the brakes for startup and shutdown because of the torque. It'll swing the body of the helicopter left and right till we get some RPMs up on the tail rotor. So that's primarily what the brakes are for. And then we'll taxi once in a while, and of course we do have a parking brake. Anyway, hope that helps. Have a nice day.